Hey everybody! Are you with me when I say life can be amazing at times, but it can also be extremely challenging? I know, I've been there myself, learned some valuable life lessons along the way, and now I'm here to help you. It's no coincidence you found your way to the Relevate podcast. I'm your host, Rena Olson, a self-proclaimed inspirer of others. Together, we're going to dive deep into raw and honest conversations with real people. My hope is that through these stories, you too will be inspired and ready to tackle whatever's holding you back or breaking your heart. Then you'll be free to live a life of purpose and true fulfillment. I promise it's possible. Let's relevate. Hey friends, it's Rena Olson here with another Relevate conversation. This time on a very difficult subject with a very special woman.
That's when I realized I had lost hope because the last few years, a complete freaking roller coaster. And you lose emotion because you're tired of worrying and you're tired of crying and you're tired of stressing and tired of waiting for the phone to ring.
That is my friend Amy Black Durham, one of the bubbliest people I have ever met. How she laughs through the tears is beyond me. You see, Amy refers to herself as a warrior mom. In her situation, a warrior mom is a bereaved parent who has lost a child. In Amy's case, it was her son Alec, gone from this world as a result of complications caused by addiction. She is here today to share her and Alec's story. Amy Black Durham, welcome to the Relevate podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh my gosh. What a blessing to have you here in person. It's my first real life face-to-face interview since this whole Corona thing hit. And I think it's no coincidence that you are the one sitting across from me.
Thank you.
Here to share your and Alec's story. So thank you so much for being here. And I know it's not an easy conversation for you to have. And just really thank you for trusting me to help carry the story of your amazing son, Alec, and your beautiful family. And I just know that your story is going to touch a lot of lives in a very positive way.
Thank you.
Okay, my dear. Okay. Here you go, my friend.
I didn't think I would cry this early on.
Yeah, we are both armed with tissues because this is going to be. Okay.
It's going to be perfect. It's going to be exactly what God wants us to say.
I know. And you're so amazing because you smile through the tears.
Oh, I do.
Which is, I don't know how you do that, but what a gift that is to be able to do both. Mm-hmm. Right.
Yes.
Okay, so I would love to know a little bit about you, Amy. How do you describe yourself?
That's always the trickiest question. You're like, I'm pretty amazing. It's what it's what you want to say, but no, I'm just kidding. I'm a mom.
Yeah,
I am. I mean, I've been a mom more of my life than not.
Mm-hmm. And you started pretty young.
I did. I had Alec when I was 18.
Whoa.
So, like I said, I've been a mom. I don't know how not to be a mom.
Yeah.
I don't know how to be a great mom sometimes, but we all do what we can do, right?
Being human.
Yeah. So, but I'm quirky and I'm creative and I'm fun and I'm loud and, so it's just, I don't know. I'm a doer. Mm-hmm. I'm a dreamer.
Yeah. And you're a decorator by trade.
I am. I am a designer, an interior designer, but, I am.
Yeah. And you and your husband are in business together, right?
Yes.
That's very cool.
Yes, it is so cool. And I couldn't imagine a better business partner and a better partner in life. And, God has a wicked sense of humor sometimes, putting two people that know us and have known us for a long time would never put us together.
Isn't that the way it always
is?
is?
Yes. I thought I was going to marry a suit-wearing stockbroker. That's what I was looking for. And God
Aren't we
gave
all?
me a construction worker that doesn't even own a suit. But you know what? He is my heart and my soul. So, and he has been with me through so much, good and bad.
Yeah.
Good and bad. So, and he took it on with a stride. So,
Oh my gosh, that's so cool. And tell me about your kids.
well, we have Alec, and we'll talk about him more later. He was my first. And then when Jeff and I married, gosh, it's almost been 14 years ago.
Wow.
Chase is my stepson. He is 19. He's his first year in college. And then we have what we call our princess, who is an 8-year-old little girl. So we had his and hers and ours. And she is a princess. And she is, like I said, she is God's gift to me because she has gotten me through with her positive energy and her joy and her love of Jesus and her love of life and her love of people and family and stuff like that. She is what gets me out of bed every day because she won't let me lay in the bed, number one. And I know that I need to set an example for her of we can overcome anything. And we can't, we're going to get through this and we're going to be better for it.
And her name is Layla.
Layla, yes.
Layla, what's her middle name?
Layla Jane Durham. She's sweet and she is full of life. He put her in our lives 8 years ago.
Wow.
So,
okay, so let's just get right to it and tell me about that boy Alec of yours.
he is.
What a mess.
He is a mess. He is a mess and always has been and always will be.
What a sparkle that kid has in his eyes.
You know what? And he's always been, I remember, so his name is Alec, A-L-E-C. And people would call him Alex because when he was born, it was a very popular name. And he would correct them, even at a young age. It's Alec. And so he would always correct them. But I remember I had him, of course, as a new mom, you're so proud of your name. You've worked really hard thinking about this name or whatever. So we go to the pediatrician for that first initial checkup. So I guess he was maybe 6 or 7 days old or whatever. And the pediatrician walks in and he goes, "Hey, we got a smart Alec here." Oh. And yeah. So, the emotionals, this new mom, I changed pediatricians. I was like, he is smart Alec. You don't know. He is not a smart Alec. Let me tell you, that child lived up to his name for years and years and years. But yes, I changed pediatricians because I was like, I'm not having this.
How dare you say that about my baby?
Exactly. So many times, like we still talk about Alec and my sweet Layla. One of the reasons is she will always make sure that I keep Alec's memory alive because every night she asks me for an Alec story. So I relive Alec every day with her. And of course, I relive him in my mind. I mean, there's not a day that doesn't go by that you don't. I probably think about him more now than I did when he was with us.
Yeah.
And so I always come up with the funny stories. And I realize going through these stories about how just much of a smart Alec he really was because those are her favorite stories, of course, when he was a little spunky 3-year-old or 8-year-old or whatever like that. So.
Well, and someone shared with me a story about he called his teacher.
He never mixed his words. He would
even as a very young
as
child.
An adult, as a young child, as an adult, he spoke his mind. There was, and that is something I guess he gets from me too. There's no filter. There's no what is on his mind is coming out.
Yeah,
whether it needs to or not. So yeah, he was in kindergarten, and I was looking through some stuff, and he got written home because he called a teacher a doo-doo head. That was kindergarten.
5 years old.
Yes, 5 years old. He called her a doo-doo head, and of course he got in trouble, and and then gosh, second grade, he had the best second grade teacher. She loved him, and but I got called in for a conference. I knew Alec's teachers every year very well. Let's just say that. And it's not that he was bad. He was just
blunt.
Very, very much energy. We'll say that. Very blunt, very outspoken, just, know. So, yeah, I got to know Alec's teachers very well. And the ones that, and I commend teachers that do this, that truly see the kids for who they are and embrace them for who they are and love them where they are.
Exactly.
And he was very blessed, especially in those early years, to have those. But his second grade teacher, he looked at her one time, and I'm sure she was saying, Alec, do something, and probably told him more than once. And he looked at her and he goes, yeah, keep your shirt on. And we laugh, but I mean, you shouldn't laugh, but it's.
How can you not?
Yeah, how can you not? So he was always, until the day he passed, the one for those quirky comments that you just come out of left field. Mm-hmm. So that is definitely something that. Wow.
So did he struggle in school at all?
He did. He did. We realized finally in the 6th grade that he had learning disabilities. He was dyslexic, ADHD, and dysgraphic. So, which
it took that long to find that out.
It did. Well, number one, because I was clueless,
right,
and I didn't know anything about it.
And he was probably masking it well.
He did, because he was so intelligent.
Exactly.
He was beyond intelligent, but and he, like you said, he masked it well through the younger years, and it was finally when he got into 6th grade, that middle school time, he was failing every class. Oh, no. Because expectations are different in middle school.
Yeah.
And the learning styles and the teaching styles and everything change a lot. So yes, he masked it. Mm. He was able to overcome it, but I think he was tired by the time, he was tired of trying to overcome so much.
And so is that when he started dabbling with substances, do you think?
I don't think so. I think that not in middle school. We didn't notice it until he was about 16, so it was high school. He might have done it as early as 8th grade, maybe, but I don't think so. We discovered it when he was 16 and in high school. Wow. It was our first
inkling of him doing that. So what did that look like?
Hell.
So did you find something in his room, or did he get busted, or, and you don't have to share.
Yeah, no. I just
details.
didn't know exactly.
I just help it, for parents who suspect something's going on with their kid. What does that kind of look like?
What does that look like? And this is something that, as parents of teenagers, it's almost like, because we've all been teenagers and we all know so many teenagers and all that, you kind of like, okay, they're going to experiment. Mm-hmm. You kind of think, it's almost like you expect it. You don't want them to, but you do think, okay. And it was when you suspect it and it happens and you catch them or whatever like that, it was the harder part for me to determine we have a problem. And that was in high school as well, when I finally determined, okay, we have a problem. But I remember my daughter Layla was 3 weeks old. Oh my gosh. And he had a friend over to spend the night, and I caught them smoking pot.
In your house?
He had he did it in his bedroom. He had the towel under his door. I mean, like, he kind of knew what to do. So who knows how many times he had done it before that. But like I said, he was 16 when she was born, almost 17. So, and that's where I suspect it was probably happening. You don't catch them the first time they do it. No. So, and that's just kind of where, like I said, okay, that's kind of what we took it as. Okay, teenagers, they're not the smartest people on the earth. Mm-hmm. Some of them are.
Undeveloped.
They're undeveloped, exactly. And they're gonna do stupid things. Mm-hmm. And we love them through it. Yeah. And that's where, and so he was a sophomore in high school when that happened. And then his junior year is when I think it just escalated really fast. Yeah. And it was when we would find him drinking in his room alone or passed out on the floor in his room. And I'm like, why are you sleeping on your floor? And he'd be like, well, I just got tired and went to sleep on my floor. It all kind of runs together after a while, the ages and the times and all that kind of stuff. But like I said, I feel like it escalated very fast. And that's when we accepted the fact of, or kind of acknowledged, okay, this is more than just teenage experimenting. I think we have a problem. Yeah. And yes, I think I don't know the right words here, but it escalated. Like I said, it escalated very fast, trying to mask the I don't fit in, trying to, school, I don't even care anymore.
So hard for some kids.
So
really
hard.
is.
Yes. And especially when, and he had every opportunity to succeed.
Yeah.
Like he had teachers on his side.
Mm-hmm.
But it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard to be put into an environment where you're expected to be one way, but you can't be. Sometimes you can't put a square peg in a round hole.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so, but I don't know what else.
Yeah. But the nonconformists are always the world changers.
Yes.
And but a lot of them just don't fit in mainstream. And when you're in public school, it's mainstream.
Yes, in a big public school.
Yeah.
A very big public school. And that's where, like I said, the schools did. I do not blame them. I do not. There's no blame on any of that.
Right.
It's just, but like you said, he did not conform.
Yes.
You told him to do this. He was going to do a version of it, but he was going to do it in his way, which, it's just.
So it seems like he was really a family guy.
Oh, gosh.
I mean, was he difficult to be around during that time, or was he kind of your buddy through it all? Because I just get the feeling that y'all just had such a special relationship.
We did have a special relationship. And he loved family and stuff like that. But he would hang out in his room all the time. Yeah. He would, I don't want to say avoid us, but there again,
he didn't want to expose what was going on.
He didn't want to expose himself. Yeah. He didn't want to, but there again, like I said, with teenagers, that's what they do. They're trying to find their independence. They're trying to find their own mark in the world.
Yeah.
And it just, all of the decisions that we made throughout the years with, learning disabilities and counseling appointments and just tutoring sessions and, trying.
Yeah.
He was receptive in the middle school years for sure. But like I said, getting into high school where they're trying to find their own independence and assert their own voice.
Yeah.
It was more of I don't want to say it was a rebellion, but I mean, that's the best word for it, was kind of, well, this is my life. I'm going to do with it what I want type.
At what point did you start fearing for his life?
As a mom, you worry. And I did. I worried. I never worried when he was little. I always said about 8 to 10 years old is kind of when that personality changed a little bit. Yeah. Turned from that little boy, from the kid, from a little boy to a kid.
Yeah.
And then middle school was when I hurt for him.
Yeah.
Finding friendships and finding the right way and figuring out where he belongs in this world. And because I think middle school, I remember searching for that.
Oh, yeah.
In middle school, and I think that, and I hurt for him to find his way and just to fit in or know where he fit and whatever that would. That's when he started skateboarding, and he was so good.
That's what I hear.
He was amazing. So about 7th grade, I can't remember if it was 6th grade Christmas or 7th grade Christmas.
That's got to be nerve-wracking as a mom to have a skateboarder as a kid.
Yes, but I never saw him work so hard at something. The dedication that he had for skateboarding and landing the tricks. And there's a video back and we laughed at it with one of his cousins about he would do an ollie. He was learning to do an ollie, and he didn't even get like an inch off the ground. He was like, yes, like, but the dedication that he had to that, it was great to watch. And he would go out in the street and just do it for days and days. Hours and hours. He would sweat and stink like teenage boys do. And then in high school, he got a longboard. And that was more nerve-wracking than the skateboarding because he would go down big hills.
Did you tell me he would go down Freemanville?
Freemanville Road, yes. Which anybody that knows Milton, Freemanville is not, it is a very hilly, curvy road. Yes. And it was his favorite. It was his favorite. And of course, I would tell him not to do it. And of course,
And I'm sure there was no helmet, no.
No. At that point, when you're 16, 17 years old, you're invincible.
Yeah.
And I think that you think that nothing's going to get me. Yeah.
He was free. He was free on that thing.
And that's so funny because he was scared of roller coasters. He's scared of roller coasters, but yet he would go down Freemanville Road with no helmet. And as he would say it, because we would laugh at him. And I mean, even as an adult, because at our house now, he was going down a hill, and I remember hearing him come down, and he was just dying laughing. And he goes, whoa! I mean, just giggling at himself. And he was like, that was awesome. I got the wiggles. But I saved myself, and I just kept going. And again, he was probably 23 at the time. No helmet, nothing. No. And, I don't condone it. You should wear helmets. His mother did not allow it, but I would have people call and go, Amy, I saw Alec. And I was like, okay. I mean, at some point, I know I'm going to get a lot of backlash for saying this, but at some point you lose control of your children.
Right. You do.
And it's not because you're a bad mom.
Right.
Or you're a bad person, or that they're a bad person, but you lose control of your children because they're making the decisions for themselves. Yeah. And that's a prime example.
Well, and especially those kids that are very strong-willed.
Which,
so that probably for you happened way early.
Yes. Yes. I remember. Yeah, there's so many times. Yes. It's kind of like and that's where you're kind of like, gosh, okay, I need to tell him not to do that. But I know he's going to do it.
Yeah.
So what do I do?
Yeah.
Like wear a helmet when you skateboard. Okay, Mom. So he'll wear it down the street. And he took it off as soon as he got out of my he probably threw it in a bush somewhere and kept going. But I think that as parents, you have to teach your children right from wrong. Mm-hmm. And that's where you have to lean on God and pray.
Oh my gosh. Isn't that the truth?
Yes. That he will see them through.
Let's talk about getting him help and what that looked like.
Okay. Yes, he was an addict. He was an alcoholic. And I'll tell you, it's weird because I could say Alec was an alcoholic for a long time. Mm-hmm. But it took me a while to say my son's an addict. Mm-hmm. And I think it has to do with the stigmatism associated with addiction. Right. And, you were raised knowing alcoholics, or at least I was raised knowing alcoholics. I'm in my 40s. I'm not going to tell you my exact age, but I'm in my 40s here. But I was raised knowing about alcoholics, but not addicts. That was a whole different level.
Yes.
Drugs were just totally different than alcohol. Mm-hmm. And maybe that was, like I said, the stigma involved. Maybe. I don't know. But so I remember finally saying, and I remember the friend I was telling, I was like, Alec's an addict. And it took my breath away. Mm-hmm. And I told her, I said, that's the first time I've ever said that out loud. And she's like, why? And I was like, I don't know. Mm-hmm. And so after years of thinking and stuff like that has to be it. It's the stigma that I had placed on an addict versus an alcoholic. Yeah. So, but alcohol was his number one. Yeah. And that's where he always went to. That's what got him in trouble the first time and got him in trouble the last time. Mm-hmm. And that was always his go-to. But then once you start going out and I'm going to clarify, I am not an addict. I'm OCD. I have a lot of other, I have my own issues, but I don't have an addiction bone in my body.
Yeah.
So I can't speak from an addict, but I can speak from the mom of an addict and what I saw and what I perceived.
Right.
So when I say this is how addicts think, know that it's from a mom's version. Right. Right. And what I saw
through
my lenses, yes, that evolved over the years. Mm-hmm. I forgot. You can remind me what I was just saying.
Yeah. So no, we're talking about what help for Alec looked like.
Yes. So, like I said, alcohol was his biggest thing. He was 18 the first time that we put him in treatment, and it was a 6-week treatment. And then he went and lived in a sober living facility for, I guess, probably 6 or 8 months after that. And it was great. He was great. He worked the program, which is part of living in these sober living facilities. You have to do that. You are surrounded by, he lived with 5 guys. He had good friendships there, good guys that just, they supported each other.
Yeah.
And then we decided, I shouldn't say he decided, but he was ready to leave that. He thought he was ready to leave, and he moved back home. And which was still good for a while. So yes, we have a renovation company, and he came and worked for us, and he was a hard worker.
Oh yeah.
He was a hard worker. So like I said,
and I heard he was very skilled.
Very skilled. He had his thought process, his brain, you talk about, okay, he had issues with reading and writing. However, his brain could put together a puzzle or a whatever, just like create something. He could look at a ping pong table and put it together without even looking at the directions in no time flat. Legos. He put Legos together in no time flat. I remember when he was like 10 years old, 8, 9, 10 years old, and he would get a reward or something. We would buy the big Lego sets. The big ones. Yeah. And it would be a Friday afternoon after school or after I got off work, and we would go get it, and because that was the reward for whatever. And he would stay up till 2 o'clock on Friday morning to put it all together. And I'm like, Alec, we have to go to bed. We have to go to bed. But I mean,
he couldn't stop.
He couldn't stop. And this is like the $100 one. Like, I don't even know how many pieces it is. It's not the like $20 one. Yeah. It's the big ones. Yes. And he would put the whole Death Star together before he went to bed on Friday night. So that way he could just play with it. And the Millennial Falcon, I mean, he had them all. So I shouldn't say all of them, but he had quite a few, which are still in my basement because we don't get rid of things like that, right? No. So you wonder where Alec got his ADD from.
So he went to treatment?
He went to treatment, yes. And then he came to work for us. He moved in at home, and he came to work for us. And that was some of Layla's favorite times with Alec because, Jeff and I both working and stuff like that. And I would say, Alec, do you want to take Layla to preschool in the morning? And he would be like, yes. So he would take her to preschool. And she would always say, I want Alec to take me tomorrow.
Oh.
So Alec would take her. I mean, and he was the proud big brother. He loved her. They had a connection. And like I said, and she loved him. It's
so sweet because usually that big of a gap between an 16, older, cool boy and his little sister. I mean, he could have really been like, no.
Yeah, I'm out.
Yeah.
Yeah. And no, he took her in, and he
loved that.
Loved her. He loved her. He loved her. That probably lasted about 9 months. And somewhere between 6 and 9 months. And I remember he slipped up at one point during that time, but he came to us. And he's like, I am so sorry. Like, I've been drinking again, just remorseful.
Right.
And from what I understand, people always say, and I always thought it was so cliche about, relapses are part of the process. Yeah. And they really are.
Yeah.
Because another addict has said to me that in explanation to that, when I would be like, but he slipped up. And they were like, but you think you're better. Mm-hmm. And I think that I want to be normal again.
Right.
And so
I can do this just this one time.
Exactly. And then it just starts, and so, but like I said, during that time, he came to us and was remorseful and was like, I'm getting it back together. And he did. Yeah. Because that was probably after he moved back in with us, maybe a month or two.
Was he working like a program? Was he going to?
Yes, he was going to AA. Okay. He found one that he loved. He had a sponsor and all that. Mm-hmm. And then he got more involved after he slipped up. Like I said, it was probably a month or two, maybe 3. I can't, like I said, the timeline's kind of, but came back and was, like I said, and then he was good for like 6 more months after that. So, and that wasn't the only time that happened over the course of years.
Right.
He would slip up. He would catch himself before it got too deep or too big. And to me, that's huge. Mm-hmm. And like I said, as addicts have told me, it's part of the process because it's not as enjoyable And then you realize,
Yeah.
oh, crap. This isn't where I want to do. This isn't what I want to be. This isn't, I don't want to go down this road again.
So how did he end up at No Longer Bound?
After he traveled the United States and other recovery centers.
Did the tour, huh?
He did a tour of the
Oh my gosh,
United
Alec.
States. At least I have humor, right? Like you said, I smiled.
So
through
how
the
many centers did?
8. No Longer Bound was number 8.
Oh my gosh, I did not know that.
Yes, No Longer Bound was number 8 for us. And like I said, none of those were a year long. Some of them were 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 4 weeks, 2 months, 3 months. And then he would go to live in like sober living facilities after that. And I think he did 3 or 4 different sober living facilities. But Alec always knew that No Longer Bound was on the table for him. I'd heard about it a long time ago. And we raised Alec going to North Point. But there again, you can't control your children's thoughts and actions and stuff like that. He was against everything No Longer Bound was for. Jesus, no girls, no cigarettes, and he was like, I can't. And then you want me to work for somebody and not make any money.
Right.
And
a year?
a whole year of my life. You want me to give up a whole year of my life without girls, without cigarettes.
Yeah.
But my husband and I, we believed in it. Alec always knew that it was on the table. He had a major living in his addiction, I guess, probably a year before that. And the whole goal, because I know that you have to be of right mind when you go into No Longer Bound. They're not a detox facility. And, at the time that Alec was there, this was the way it was. It had to be conscious. It was a time that had to go. So he hit a really bad spot in January. So we got him into a distress. It was a distress. We had to get him somewhere. So we sent him to a place for 30 days, which was a good place, a great place. The goal was for him to go there. And then the next step was to go to No Longer Bound. He decided that he was good. 30 days, I'm good. I've got a recovery network up here, all that kind of stuff. And he came home to visit in August, and he was good. He was good-ish. Yeah. But as a mom, you can always sense something. You can always sense it. I would just feel sometimes when he's getting off track. And he might not be derailed completely, but you can feel when that track gets loose. Well, I told him when he was there in probably early August. I can't remember exactly, but August sometime. And I said, just remember, No Longer Bound is always on the table for you if you're ready for a real change. When you're ready to make a real difference in your life, and it's there. I'll pay for it, but you have to make the first step. I'm not doing anything else, but you have to make the calls. It's a process to get in, and you have to do it. And mid-September, he called me and said, Mom, I called No Longer Bound yesterday. I have a 10 o'clock interview or whatever. I can't remember all the details, and I'm going to start the process. Are you and Jeff still willing? And I said 100%. So my mom's birthday, which was September the 25th, we checked Alec in. We sat in the admissions room and got Alec into No Longer Bound. And I don't say we, because it wasn't me. We prayed. My whole small group prayed. Multiple small groups have prayed for him over the years, because the years from that 18 years old to that, it was 6 years from that point. And it was a lot of praying. And we didn't get to see him. You have to go through a period of time where I think it's 2 months without family visits and all that kind of stuff. Don't tell anybody, but we snuck a visit.
You did?
We did, at church.
Oh, yeah.
Don't tell anybody. But he had been there about 4 or 5 weeks because they go to church there. We always went to the same time, and we saw him. And I remember I hugged his neck. And I couldn't stop hugging him. And he laughed at me like I was a bubbling idiot. But he just felt so good. He used to be this frail little, he was just frail and worn out.
Yeah.
He had muscles back in his arms. And he had his hug that he had always given me. So after 5 weeks of him being there and our snuck visit of like 3 minutes and 45 hugs in those 3 minutes, I was good.
Yeah.
I was like, this is good.
Yeah.
And I did. I cried a little bit of joy.
Yeah.
And then, but we didn't get our real visit until Christmas Day that year. So we went from September to Christmas Day. And there again, it was a good day.
Yeah.
It was just good. And I remember sitting in a family recovery meeting during the course of his time there. We come on Sundays and do all of that. And I remember sitting there and thinking to myself, I had lost hope that I would have my boy back.
Yeah.
Because, and it scared me a little bit because I was sitting in that meeting and I felt a little bit of hope.
Yeah.
And that little bit of hope that I had, it scared me because that's when I realized I had lost hope.
Mm-hmm.
Because the last few years before him going into No Longer Bound had been so just a complete freaking roller coaster.
Yeah.
And you lose emotion because you're tired of worrying and you're tired of crying and you're tired of stressing and tired of waiting for the phone to ring. Because that's the life of a mom of an addict.
I just can't imagine. I'm so sorry. And he didn't know he was putting you through that. I believe that he loved you too much.
They don't do it on purpose.
Yeah.
It was not intentional.
Yeah.
But that addiction and that image of self-worth that they get when they're in their addiction is just not even. And he would avoid me and he would say, Mom, you don't have to worry about me anymore. And I'm like, but you don't understand. Yeah. You think that you can just go away and do whatever you want to do. And I'm just like, today I'm just going to stop loving you.
Your blood, we share the same blood in our veins. It doesn't work that way, son.
It does not work that way. And that's what I would tell him time and time again, because that's what he would say. He'd say, just don't worry about me anymore. Mm. And I'm like, but like you said, it does not work that way.
Yeah. I'm not a person in recovery, but my heart, being at No Longer Bound, my heart just breaks for parents and families. I mean, we've been in a pandemic as a result of addiction in this country for years. And unless, it's come knocking at your door, you don't really realize it.
No.
I mean, it's like 70,000 people each year die of addiction. And then, that number is exponentially greater because of accidental deaths or suicide that, it's just, there's just so much of it out there. So I'm so thankful that we're talking about it more because we need to destigmatize it. Mm-hmm. And people need to pay attention and understand and be there, whether, God forbid that it happens in your house or is happening to your neighbors or someone you love. We need to be there for each other. Mm-hmm. Not that we can fix it, but just loving each other through it, because it can be a lonely walk. I know that because people don't know what to do or say. So they do nothing and they say nothing, and that just makes it worse.
Mm-hmm. Well, and yes, you have nailed it on the head. We don't say anything. We turn our head because not my child.
Right.
I used to have a girlfriend years ago. We raised our boys together when they were little, and we would always laugh about not my child. And she's like, I was always the one that was like, he did it. I know it was mine. She's like, I'm the first one to say, I know it was my child. But we have the not my child syndrome as parents because we don't want it to be our child.
Yeah.
We don't want it to be. Because there is so much stigma involved. But I'll be the first to admit that God gave me everything that I was afraid of. I was afraid of addicts. I was afraid of punksters skateboarders in the parks, I was afraid of those. I laugh because, so Alec is this eccentric skateboarder who has the biggest heart and the best manners of anybody. I would put him next to anybody to challenge that. My stepson, the sweetest kid, and he's an athlete. He plays baseball, always did, great, stellar athlete. His friends were the ones that I would be like, oh, come on, let's, they're the picture perfect all-American kids. Yeah. Good kids. Alec's friends were the eccentric, like big t-shirt, tattoos, earrings, all that. But let me tell you, out of those kids, it was Alec's friends that came over and were, hey, Miss Durham, yes, Miss Durham, the most polite kids. Chase's friends were, but you expect that out of them. Yeah. You expected the punky kids to come in and raid your refrigerator and just walk through and not even speak and, do whatever. At least that was my judgmental perception. And God gave me the exact thing that I was afraid of. I was afraid of addicts. I was afraid of people who did drugs. On so many different levels, it scared me. He gave me everything I was afraid of. I was afraid of addiction. And guess what? He put one in my house that I loved more than anything. Who I would have gone to the ends of the earth for.
And you did.
Yes. In his addiction. In his addiction. And now I don't look at I look at addicts, and I look at addiction, and I look at the punky teenagers, and I look at the good teenagers, the All-Americans. I look at all of them exactly the same.
Yeah. Well, it was eye-opening for me to be at No Longer Bound, and what I found, meeting these people, these men who were severe addicts in recovery, I found some of the most charismatic, some of the most smart, some of the most creative, some of the most talented, great looking guys, great manners. I was like, what? It was just my perception was completely wrong.
It was skewed.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's where they say that addiction does not pick a race, a gender, an income bracket. It doesn't. I mean, we personally know, my husband and I personally know many. Older than us, younger than us. Yeah. I mean, through Alec, not through Alec. And how many people hide it for how many years? Until it finally catches up with them and their families. Right. And it's because the shame involved in knowing. And you say
that's fear. It's fear too. Fear is.
Well, I know when, because here I had Layla, who was a precious preschooler with a perfect little bow in her hair and curls and ruffle pants. I mean, she was so stinking cute. And so I had this cute little perfect preschooler, and I drove my minivan, and then I had an addict. So I was living two lives during those early years. Well, until, I don't want to say recently, but until, for several years, I lived two lives, it seemed like.
Yeah. So let's talk about when Alec completed his program at No Longer Bound and he was out, he was doing well.
He was great. Oh my gosh.
And y'all have a cool tradition at your house where spaghetti dinners, and he'd be there.
Thursday night, spaghetti night. Every Thursday night, it was spaghetti nights. My husband did it when he was a kid. I mean, his mom cooked spaghetti every Thursday night. So when we got married, we continued.
I love that.
Yes. The boys got very tired of spaghetti, so we would change it up. But just so they came on Thursday nights. And Alec came every Thursday night, and we ate and talked and laughed. And, sometimes it was eventful, and sometimes it was just, hey, thanks for dinner, Mom, but we were together.
Right.
And when the kids get older and they move out and they're living their own lives, you have to be intentional with those moments.
And you never see them, especially the guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he was living his life. He was living a good life. He had he had finished up at No Longer Bound, was going through the transition program, got a job that he absolutely loved. He was working for a local cabinet company, spraying cabinets, which was a trade that he worked in the furniture shop at No Longer Bound, and learned from his good friend Mike Cannon. It was a legacy thing, the legacy of passing down the cabinet painting. But No Longer Bound made great products, and he learned it. He moved on. He worked a job that he loved, doing something that he loved. He was proud of it. Yeah. He took pride in it. He would send me pictures. Look what we did today. Look at this install. And I think he was valued there. As parents too, when your kids grow up, you hope they're financially stable.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's one goal you have for them. Mm-hmm. And he was. And he had a bank account, and he had money in his bank account.
And a truck.
And a truck. He bought his truck by himself with his, he had his money. He bought himself a truck. He had just purchased a guitar. It was like $1,000 guitar, a bass guitar that he had wanted, and he still had money in his bank account. And that, to me as a mom, like, that makes me proud.
Totally.
All of his bills were paid, and that is not something that he could have said too many times, because, and I think one of the reasons that it makes me so proud, number one, because he saw the value in saving money, but number two was because he was sober, and he was conscious of that money, because when he was in his addictions, he was always like, can I borrow like $50? I want to buy you. Yeah, I want to buy you Chick-fil-A today, Mom. I'm on the way over. I'm going to stop and get you some lunch, and I'll try to pay him back. He's like, I got it. So I had pride in that. He was doing good. He was making strides for his life. He was living on his own in a house with roommates that also graduated from No Longer Bound. They were doing good. Yeah. Until one day he wasn't.
Did that mother's intuition kick in? Did you kind of fear something might be going on, or was it just kind of out of the blue?
It came out of the blue. I'll be honest with you. This one, it came out of the blue. And I think that's what was so hard and disheartening, because he was at our house on Thursday night for the typical dinner. Not typical. It's not typical, but the traditional. Our traditional dinner. Thursday night, Alec was there, Chase was there, Layla was there, Jeff was there. I cannot tell you what we ate, but we ate, and the boys kind of left early. Alec's like, Mom, I'm going to get out of here. And I remember standing at the exact spot in my kitchen, and I still feel that hug of, I love you too. All right, have a good day tomorrow. And that was it, that Thursday night. There again, thankful we had that tradition.
Yeah. So he went missing for
9 days.
9 days. So they found his truck.
He was Saturday morning. He was helping, and I always classify people as good guys and bad guys. I'm sure all moms do that, right?
Yeah.
So he was helping some friends that were good guys painting a fence. He left around lunchtime, and for some reason, and we know all of these details because for 9 days. I was a private investigator. It was kind of, it's amazing what a mama can do,
yes.
Yeah. But thankfully, he still had the bank account that we set up before he was 18. So I was on that. He's on our cell phone account. So it wasn't too hard to be able to get access.
Yeah.
Thankfully, because I was still a part of the accounts.
Yeah.
But yeah, we tracked, and we saw that the last bank account, last bank withdrawal was like at 4 something on a Saturday. And then the last phone call that came through to his phone was at 6:03 that Saturday. And after that, there was nothing else. So on Sunday morning, we filed a missing persons report. By Sunday night, that's when I got worried. Yeah. 24 hours, no contact. No response to a text message or a phone call. Multiple. Barry, who is Alec's dad, was calling. We were calling. It just, nothing. Friends that were calling that we had reached out to immediately, when we decided he was missing. When there's no activity on a bank account or a phone, and the phone's not, it's going straight to voicemail, you know that there's, as a mom, you know that, and we talked to the police department, and I was like, it's just not right. It's just not right. There's something else. Well, you know, and they did their best.
Yeah. So ultimately, it was an alcohol-related accident.
It was. It was a complete accident. So it was basically what, like I said, we know all of this from the private investigator research mom PI can do over the course of the time, all of the things. So he started drinking around noon that day. And we know this from the bank account, liquor store, Mexican restaurant, a bar, you know, just little by little by little. And then he was in a neighborhood going, and it's what the neighborhood that was really small streets and stuff. He hit a mailbox. There was a 911 call, and he got out. He hit a car. Everybody was fine. When we went on we did missing person. We put flyers up, all of this, and I got multiple phone calls from the community, especially over there in the area that in Swanee where he was. I actually spoke to the lady that last saw him, and she told me, so he got in an accident in the neighborhood that he was driving through. Like I said, it was a little fender bender. He got out, made sure the lady that was in the car was okay. The lady she had heard the crash, came out of her house and was like, "Are y'all okay?" He's like, "I just need to know that they are okay." And she was like, that lady was like, "We're fine. Are you okay?" He's like, "I'm fine. I'm fine." Everybody's like, "We're fine." He's like, he said it more than once. "I just need to know they're okay." And they were like, "We're fine." And he was like, once she said, "We need to call the cops. Like, we need to file a report." He was like, okay. And apparently he reached in his car and got something out. And she said, "I thought he was just going to go off into the bathroom or something." And he never came back. And it's what had happened. After 9 days, we figured this out. He walked up through the woods.
Oh, so he left the vehicle there.
He left the vehicle there and went up into the woods. And there was a retaining pond, like a big neighborhood retaining pond. It's one of those neighborhoods that's zero, you know. So it was a retaining pond back in there. But the police officer said they saw where he was sitting on the bank. He had his journal there and an empty liquor bottle sitting on the bank. And it was obvious that he just passed out and fell in the water and then just never woke up. No evidence of foul play, no anything. So when people tell me nowadays they passed out drunk, it pisses me off because that's what he did. Did he hit his head at some point? I don't know. Yeah. Did he hit his head when he fell? I don't know. Yeah. But it was just alcohol. So like I said, when somebody says, "I passed out drunk and I don't know what happened," you know what? My son passed out drunk and woke up in the arms of Jesus. But you know what brings me peace? He's in the arms of Jesus. Yeah. And he doesn't have any more depression or addiction
or struggle.
He's happy.
And I would think that was probably peaceful, you know, the fact that he was outside in nature and
he was happy.
Exactly. And he had turned his life around.
He did.
And had restored his relationships with his family. And
he had been estranged from his dad for a few years. He found Jesus when he was at No Longer Bound. And I'm so thankful, forever thankful. And that's, had this happened 2 years ago, I couldn't be at peace. Yeah. But he and his dad were estranged for a little while. And while they were at No Longer Bound, or while Alec was at No Longer Bound, he struggled with that relationship with his dad. He said, finally one day, he said, "I gave it to God. I gave it to God. I'm letting God put it." The next day, his father, Barry, called, no longer bound, and asked if he could come and what he needed to do to be able to come and visit with Alec. And they began mending their relationship. And that's the power of your Jesus right there. And the fact that relationship, I mean, it's just, yes, so many relationships were restored while it no longer bound. But it was because of the work that Alec put in.
Absolutely.
To overcome his demons.
Right.
But it is a constant struggle. That's what I've learned. It's not a one and done. It's not I finished that program. Check.
No. You're never done.
You're never done. It's just like working out.
Mm-mm.
It's just like a diet.
Right.
Just because you ate good yesterday does not mean that you're not going to gain weight with those donuts you eat today.
I just have more. I mean, I was at Alec's memorial service, and it was so perfect for him. And I just was in awe at you and your smile and your joy and how you handled yourself. And it was a wonderful celebration of his life. And just knowing him, I didn't know him well, but what do you think he would want his legacy? How would he want us to remember him? He would probably hate this right now.
He is hating every minute of it. He would want me to say that people are stupid.
Sorry, Alec.
And that's something that I struggled with because we have started a foundation in his name.
Yes.
And I'm proud.
That makes me so happy.
I'm proud of that.
Yes.
And I struggled at the beginning, and I talked to some friends, and I was like, Alec was such an introvert.
Yeah.
And like I said, people are stupid. That's something that that would be all he said, But he was such an introvert, and he didn't like to draw attention to himself. And, he would rather just kind of blend in with the wallpaper. But I'm not that way.
No.
I am not that way.
Watch me go, son.
I am a firm believer that God gives us stories, and he wants us to tell them.
Yes.
I'm a firm believer that God doesn't give us pain to sit back and cry.
Mm-hmm.
He allows us to cry, and he allows us to feel and to do all of that. But if we cannot grow and allow others to grow, then it's not even. I'm a part of a group of women. They're called the Warrior Moms. Yes. And we are all women that have lost a child one way or another. We all have different stories.
Yeah.
We all have different, boys, girls, different ages. We lost them, different reasons we lost them. But we meet once a month, and we understand each other without knowing each other. Mm-hmm. There's not many people that thank God, that have dealt with child loss, but they understand it. And every one of us, the biggest thing that, I guess the biggest disservice we could do to our children is to forget about them. The biggest thing is for it not to mean something. Right. Because something this big and this painful and this hurtful and this awful, it's just the only word that I have. It's just, it sucks. That's what it does. Okay? For something to suck this bad and not for a reason, there has to be a reason for this. Right. And so we have started the Alec Davis Foundation. And the host of the Alec, I say the host, the person that organizes it all for me, he allows me to love my boy and talk about my boy, and he knows that I want to. My goal is to pour into other addicts, yes, to help other men reclaim their lives back. Because every addict has a mama, good or bad, they have a mama. Yeah. they have a sister or a brother or a dad or a
Yeah.
children.
Mm.
So many addicts have children.
Yes.
And they are good people.
Mm-hmm.
They have good in them.
Yes.
Evil demons have taken over their brain and their body.
Mm-hmm.
The evil demon is the addict of, their drug of choice. But there are so many good people that addiction has claimed their life and their future.
I've seen it firsthand.
Yeah.
Again and again and again.
Again and again and again. And I know, and as I said, Alec went through 8 different treatment centers. It was the aftercare where he struggled. He was willing to go to treatment every time. He stayed the whole time. He got out what he needed. He came out saying, I'm good.
Yeah.
This time's going to be different. And he would lose track. Mm-hmm. Why his sobriety lasted longer after No Longer Bound was because he had that aftercare. Mm-hmm. Well, I call it aftercare, but it's people.
Yeah.
It's
there
people.
You go.
And it's
community.
Community. Thank you.
Community.
Yes. It is community.
Right.
And he had a community, and it was, I'm going to give all the credit to Mark Lewington and the Tea and Cake organization.
They met last night.
Yes, they did. Yes, they did.
I might have talked to Mike Hannon.
Yes. And Mike.
He loved your boy.
Oh, he did?
He called him his little brother.
He did. He did. And I love Mike.
Speaking of Mike, so that's an awesome example of the Alec Davis Foundation at work.
Yes, it is.
So tell me the gift you've given to Mike.
Mike Cannon he was Alec's older brother at No Longer Bound. And they were actually roommates after they left. And Mike poured into Alec, and Alec poured into Mike. Yeah. They truly were brothers. Mm. And Mike has gone through yoga training on his own. He is a yoga instructor. He's a jack of all trades, I think. He is a jack of all trades. He is so.
Have you taken his class?
No.
He is unbelievable.
I've heard that this is his calling.
He is.
Trish told me this is it. Yeah. This is it. Yeah. This is his calling. Yeah. So, but he has, and you're going to have to help me with the wording because I'm not sure exactly.
Yeah, keep talking because he sent it to me because I wanted to get it exactly right.
Okay. The Alec Davis Foundation sponsored him to do additional yoga training for the 12-step recovery. Mm-hmm. There is a specialized program.
It's called Y12SR for the yoga of 12-step recovery.
Yes.
Specific training especially for that, to help people in recovery.
Yes.
And the foundation is paying for that training.
The foundation paid for that training for him to be able to pour back into people in recovery. Mm-hmm. The foundation also has sponsored helped match the money that his counselor certification. Mm-hmm. And the Alec Davis Foundation helped match the amount that he raised to be able to go back. Because we know people that work in recovery, they're not in it for the money.
No.
They're in it because they love it.
Right.
And most of the time because they've been through it. Mm-hmm. And with God giving people stories, they are the best ones with the best stories to be able to pour back into those that are living their stories or living, the life that they had once lived. So the Alec Davis Foundation, the goal is to help people reclaim their life. We want to help people to help people.
It's an amazing mission, and it's a mission that's so greatly needed.
Yes.
So I love the fact that you're turning your pain into purpose. So brave and so honorable of you that, you're just going to continue to fight for others and to share your story. However, I can't imagine how hard it is for you to sit here today across from me and just be real.
You know what? I love talking about my boy. I do. I love him, and I love that his life was lived, and he lived it to the fullest.
Right. He's just, he's like a James Dean. It's a supernova, that was just so bright. And
and he lived it any way he wanted to. Like, he did not conform.
Mm-hmm.
And that is something, so another, I don't want to call it iconic, but of him is he had the me tattoo.
Uh-huh.
And that was to remind him that the happiness is found within me first before I can find it anywhere else. That has kind of become the logo of the Alec Davis Foundation, is the me tattoo that was on his arm. Several people have gotten the tattoo in his honor. I can't get a tattoo because, well, it kind of scares me. So I had T-shirts made.
Well, I want one of those T-shirts.
Yes, and I meant to bring you one today, and I totally was sitting right on my desk, and I didn't grab it.
So one last question for you. So the word relevate means to uplift or to restore to good spirits. In closing, how do we kind of take the lesson of your amazing son, and what do you want listeners to walk away with from this conversation?
Every addict is a little boy of a mother. And that's what Alec was, a precious little boy. Oh my gosh. He was my joy. He was my best friend for so many years. I mean, my little sidekick, we rode around with the top down all over town. He brought me joy, and he brought me heartache, but he brought me love, and he brought me to be a better person, to be more open-minded and be more generous and caring towards people that are not like me, that are way different than me. And that's what makes the world go round. But the fact that every addict out there is loved by God, and they're loved by their mama, and they're loved by their daddy. Yeah. And you need to see them for the person they are, not the actions that they're doing.
Thank you, Amy, for being here in this sacred space to celebrate the life of your amazing son. And looking forward to doing some good work together to just continue the fight, because it's a battle we're in. Right?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So I'm in it with you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. You take care.
Yes.
So I know these relevant conversations can sometimes be heavy and difficult to listen to. I don't want you to miss the hope part of these stories. I love Amy's strength and spirit and her determination in the face of unimaginable personal loss to make Alec's life matter and keep his very free spirit alive. I can't wait to see his legacy continue to unfold and the lives impacted by the Alec Davis Foundation. I'm Rena Olson, and this is Relevate.